Marks, the director of the Governor's Child Sex Trafficking Team. Welcome to our monthly webinar. This month we have something a little different, and I'm excited about it because it's something that I didn't really realize was an issue until I attended a summit earlier this summer and saw a presentation by Mary Bodden. And so Mary is here today to talk to us about an issue that is basically the exploitation of our kids through dance. And so she is the founder and CEO of Dance Awareness, No Child Exploited. She has a passion to provide research-based education and resources in dance to stop the hypersexualization of children in adult costumes, choreography, and music. And in this webinar, she will share information from experts on the effects of sexualized dance, including sexual exploitation on young children and teens, and what we can do to help curb this practice. So this really opened my eyes at the NCOSE Summit this summer, and I'm hoping that it will open your eyes too. And also, I know there's that new Netflix series coming out that people are really upset about. So this is perfect timing. Just a couple of reminders: we will take questions in the chat box and try to answer them toward the end. So if you have any questions, go ahead and type them in there. And also, to let you know, our next month's webinar will be from one of our providers of long-term residential treatment, SJRC, who has a wonderful program, very trauma-informed, and they'll be doing that the second Thursday in October at 1 o'clock. So without further ado, I'm gonna turn it over to Mary. Thanks, Mary.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me to speak to you. It's a blessing. And as I start, I want to thank Andrea, you for the invitation, and Jordan and Steve for helping me on the technical end. I am not an expert in technical equipment and IT stuff, so they've been so wonderful to help on this. You know, it's so much fun to see a little person get their first pair of dance shoes, go to their first dance class, and then anticipate that first dance recital. The research shows that healthy, appropriate, educational children's dance is a wonderful activity for children. It improves academic performance, cognitive development, creativity, appropriate risk-taking, and social maturity. I relate to what the research says because that's my story. I started dance when I was about 11 years of age, and it became a central part of my identity. By the time I was in high school, I was taking Cicchetti Ballet a couple of times a week from two master teachers, Sheila Darby and Olga Fricker. They started Cicchetti USA. After that, I got a BA in modern dance from the University of California at Riverside, taught on the community college level, directed and choreographed for a church dance ministry for over 20 years, and wrote a book. I think you could safely say I am the poster child for a good experience in dance. But something has changed. There's been a cultural shift from healthy, educational, age-appropriate children's dance to harmful, hypersexualized children's dance in adult costumes, choreography, and music at younger and younger ages. If we look at dance through the unfiltered media lens, we see that dance has been distorted. Impressionable youth longing to fit in see this as natural, normal, and necessary. But you and I both know that this isn't normal. In June of 2019, I flew to Washington, D.C. to interview experts at the National Center on Sexual Exploitation Coalition Summit to get their views on the differences between healthy and harmful dance. In February of 2020, Dance released a 20-minute film with those interviews. And this presentation will have several cuts from that film with those interviews. But now, before I begin, I'd like to make a few announcements. The first thing I want to make you aware of is that there's some sexual content in this presentation. I'd like to let you know that when I say dance, I'm referring to Dance Awareness, No Child Exploited. Our website is danceawareness.com, and you can see our logo on the screen there, dance, and then below that, Dance Awareness, No Child Exploited. As I talk, I'm also going to be sharing the 4 dance educational goals. And these goals are important because they share the why of dance. And then in live presentations, I often ask audience members to define the hypersexualization of children in dance from their perspective. We can't do that on a webinar, but you can put that into the chat portion of what is available in this webinar. And last but not least, a fun personal detail. Both of my parents were born in Texas. My mother was born in Waco, my father in Balmorhea. He went to Texas A&M University, and when I was a little girl growing up, we always watched the Aggie games. I should also let you know that when we would visit relatives and we're driving into Texas, he would always stop the car and have us kiss the ground. So in some respects, I guess I'm a Texan too. Today's presentation is in 4 parts: the media invasion, the current research, the lack of awareness, and informed choice. Well, let's start on the media invasion, changing the definition of innocence. As poet and cultural critic Allen Ginsberg says, whoever controls the media, the images, controls the culture. Well, innocence is ignorance, freedom from cunning, lack of worldly experience. In 1983, the New York Times released an article with evidence-based research called The Loss of Childhood Innocence. And in that article, they said that the greatest cultural change was not that children had lost their innocence. They said the greatest change was that adults had changed the conception of childhood itself. It had gone from an age of protection, that is, shielding children from adult issues, to an age of preparation, that is, exposing children to a wide range of adult issues. However, the research shows that this philosophy does more harm than good. For instance, what if I told a 6-year-old child to take my keys, get in the car, drive to the market, and get a quart of milk and bring it back? Well, you would look at me and say, you're crazy. That child is not developmentally able to carry out that task. And that's what we're doing with children when we expose them to sexual adult issues when they're too young. Well, the media is the mass means of communication, and we hear from the media all the time through news, information, entertainment, education. We know that media shapes public opinion because the public gives them a lot of authority and trust, and they have a huge impact on society. Of course, they give us positive and negative ways of communicating what they want us to hear. For instance, when I was a little girl driving in the car with my folks, I can remember when they came to an abrupt halt, I would go forward in the seat, and my mother would take her arm out and break my fall, or my father would. Well, it was the media that exposed the issue of safety belts to the public, and now we have laws for adults to wear safety belts and children to be in car seats. So that's a positive media message. But there are some negative media messages. I asked my husband what he think was a negative media message, and he said fast food. So it's not that all fast food is bad. It's the importance of thinking through and reflecting on why you're making a choice. We just have to be aware of healthy or harmful outcomes from those messages. In many dance settings, girls are becoming increasingly sexualized in adult costumes, choreography, and music at younger and younger ages. We are immersed in a media culture that blurs the line between childhood and adulthood. We're normalizing what's not normal. This media culture sees children as mini adults. And when adults allow the hypersexualization of children, little people are tricked into thinking that their real power is to look sexual. That leads me to share the first educational goal of dance, which is to protect children from hypersexualization in adult costumes, choreography, and music, and to protect the art of dance. Let's see what the experts say, and we'll play you a cut from the film we produced and released in February. So we skipped a little bit on the PowerPoint, so we're going to go back. Okay, we're good. Why are we surprised when children do what they see in media modeled all around them? The media influences children and adults. They copy what they see. And the brain research refers to this as mirror neurons. What is a mirror neuron? Mirror neurons allow us to learn through imitation. They play a big part in social life. They're key for adult development, but even more so with children. When children see something, they want to imitate it, especially media icons. The problem with this is girls self-sexualize and adopt a script that follows them for life. Let's see what the experts say about defining the differences between healthy and harmful dance. So here we are, and thank you for your patience with some of these technical issues. I have put up here on the screen some definitions that most of you are familiar with, but I want us to be on the same page. I won't go over them, except I do want to make the note at the bottom of the screen that the word sexualized means the same thing as hypersexualized. We use it to emphasize a sexually toxic environment that sets up sexual trauma for children. With children, we're divorcing sexuality from personhood, from their humanity. They may not be fully grown, but they are fully human. Sorry about that again. I want to share with you a definition of healthy and harmful dance that I found really helpful. You know, as I talk with people, a lot of people get overwhelmed. They think, oh my gosh, so much is happening in the culture, and I don't know the studies, and I don't know how to tell the difference between harmful and healthy dance, you know, and I don't have the background or the foundation. They get overwhelmed. So this is the Mary Bodden simplified version of healthy and harmful dance. Harmful dance, hypersexualized dance, is when children look like adults. In adult costumes, choreography, and music, usually accompanied by adult hairstyles and makeup. In healthy dance, which is educational dance, it's amazing. A child looks like a child. They're dressed in age-appropriate costumes, choreography, and music. And usually as we see movement like that, we experience joy, because it's so much fun to see children look like children, dance like children, and express themselves. And this is the part of my presentation where I often spend some time with the audience getting their ideas of hypersexualized dance. Of course, I'm not going to do that now, but if you want to put your ideas for hypersexualized dance in the chat area, please do. Right now, I'm going to share a written definition of harmful hypersexualized dance that was put out by YPAD, Youth Protection Advocates in Dance. They were bought by another company called More Than Just Dancing a couple of years ago, and they usually work inside the dance industry. So I haven't seen this recently on the internet, but I think it's really good. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'll just take one portion of it out on this slide and the next one. You can see how good it is to help you. Hypersexualized dance for children includes sexually suggestive grinding, humping the floor, sexually straddling a prop like a chair, back arches with bottoms to the audience in a suggestive manner. And then the last part of this that I'm going to share, hypersexualized dance shows children spanking themselves or another dancer on the bottom, or running their hands up another dancer's body in a seductive manner. Can you see through this written definition that we're talking about children being put in adult material? And now let's discuss the current research. Experts identify a pornified culture, and that term pornified culture was coined by an expert whose name is Dr. Gail Dines. That leads me to share with you the second educational goal of dance, which is to create and provide free research materials to give adults informed choice to know the differences between healthy and harmful dance. And our third educational goal is to engage in respectful conversations with other adults without shaming or demonizing anyone. That allows time to reflect and change people's minds when they're not put on the defensive. I also think, along with respect, we can talk kindly to people. Many adults are uninformed or uneducated. So if we can communicate our messages without shaming them, I think it really allows us to make for change. Now let's look at the definition of sexualization from the APA. A girl is sexualized when she's valued only for her sexual appeal or behavior, when her physical attractiveness is equated with being sexy, when she's treated as a sexual object, and when sexuality is inappropriately imposed on her. Two things about that. Of those four things, to meet the criteria for hypersexualization, only one ingredient needs to occur. In other words, you don't have to have all four of these things to say that a child is being hypersexualized. Additionally, this report was released in 2008, and it talked about girls, but I think we can all safely say that this really can be applied to boys as well, because unfortunately we're welcoming boys into this group as well. The research shows that when a child is objectified, which is valued only externally, he or she is not seen as someone worthy of dignity. The research shows that people think when they see a child hypersexualized, they lack an independent mind. Because of that, external objectification also breeds violence. After all, if children are objects, we can use them as a means to an end for adult use. Let's fix this. Children should be seen as integrated humans with a mind, a body, and a spirit. Now I'm going to let you take a few seconds to look at the effects, just a few, I've only listed a few, of the effects of sexualization for children based on the APA research. This is a pretty disturbing list of outcomes. What we have to remember is that children are not sexual commodities, and they need adults. We need each other to educate ourselves. And to do that, we need courageous conversations. Where do girls, where do children receive sexualization messages from? Well, from the media, from personal relationships, and you can note in this, parents, teachers, and peers. Well, parents are uninformed and uneducated, so sometimes children are encouraged to participate in hypersexualized dances through that. And then the girls themselves. In our media-driven, hypersexualized culture, we are saturated with messages that are linked to sexual exploitation and pornography. Porn is the depiction of erotic behavior intended to cause sexual excitement. Why should children be used to excite adults sexually? Who is benefiting from this relationship? Is the bottom line making money or valuing children? And that leads me to share the fourth educational goal of dance, which is to communicate the connection between pornography and the hypersexualization of children in adult costumes, choreography, and music with bipartisan engagement. So it doesn't matter what political party we belong to, it doesn't matter what our faith base is, or even if we don't have a faith base. We can all unite together as adults to protect children. Today, pornography is hidden in plain sight, the elephant in the room that nobody wants to talk about, but everyone has a hard time navigating around. The new normal. Well, of course, adults are having a hard time navigating this issue, and why? Well, there are two reasons. Sexual issues are difficult to talk about, and then we live in a polarized culture that makes adults afraid to say anything. On the other hand, children are not being protected as they should be. So we need to have courageous conversations. You're going to hear me say that over and over again, and speak out respectfully and kindly, but not compromise our message. I should share with you that last fall, in fall of 2019, the New York Times released a report in the newspaper that said in 2008, there were 3,000 images of abused children found online. But in 2018, that number had skyrocketed to 18.4 million. Let's see what the experts say about children's dance and the pornified culture. Again, I want to thank you for your patience on some of these technical issues, but I think we're doing pretty good. And I think the quality of the video is much higher in the way we've put it into the GoToWebinar technology. Well, young people can't be expected to navigate the perfect storm of a sexually toxic, pornified culture without impact. That's why experts identify porn as a public health issue. Well, a public health issue promotes and protects the health of people and the communities where they live, learn, work, and play. And here we are at the lack of awareness, which has led to cultural grooming. Why has this happened? To understand, let's clarify what the word grooming means. When I was a little girl, grooming meant go to your room, brush your teeth, do your hair, put on a new outfit, and look really good. So that's what I did as a little girl. But in this culture, we have a pornified meaning. It's a tactic of overcoming a survivor's defenses by slowly desensitizing his or her natural reaction to abusive behaviors. Grooming works by mixing positive behaviors with elements of abuse. So what we have is a little person who loves to dance, who goes to dance class, enjoys all the things that are going on and finding what their body can do, which is a wonderful instrument. And then slowly they're asked to participate in hypersexualized movement. And of course, a child has no perspective that they're being abused when this occurs. So it's a problem. Children can't identify it. Don't ever plan on your child understanding that this is abuse. So that's one problem. Then we have parents that seem to be unaware that grooming is occurring. We're all busy. And so, it's just happening in the culture and nobody seems to be aware. Now let's see what the experts say about grooming. Well, you heard one our experts talking about grooming, and there's an expert from Australia whose name is Philip Adams. He coined the term corporate pedophilia, which is really the corporate use of children for financial benefit of adults who own and manage corporations. And we're just unaware that this has been happening. I know that when I was a young mother, I thought of pedophilia as one adult with one child, which is terrible, but never thought of a big picture of a whole group of children being groomed. So as we look at this and we see that it's corporate pedophilia, it's a much bigger issue than dance, and it produces cultural trauma. Behind this media minefield, somebody's making a lot of money. If we become a civilization that sells people, a civilization that takes something so central to who we are as persons, our sexuality, and industrializes it, we cannot be happy people. There's a Christian theologian whose name was Dietrich Bonhoeffer in World War II who spoke out when the Jews were being abused and then killed in the gas camps. And this is what he said: "The test of the morality of a society is what it does for its children." And now we're into the part of the presentation that I so enjoy: prevention. Informed choice, healthy or harmful outcomes. Being informed about choices makes all the difference. And here I want to remind you, as we begin to talk about prevention, that I want to emphasize the wonder of healthy dance. This beautiful art form integrates mind, body, and spirit. And I can recall at 11 years of age going into dance. Now, we waited that long because I had moved 6 times in my first 12 years. And you know, I for a whole variety of reasons, I think I was compartmentalized. My mind, my body, and my heart kind of were operating separately. And I can remember organically what began to happen to me as I took dance and as I was allowed to create and express myself. And I think it really helped me with confidence and maturity. So I just want to give a shout out to healthy, educational, age-appropriate dance. And as we look at prevention, just remember we have to identify the problem and educate each other with informed choices. But there's another preventative factor that's important. Sorry about that. So parents are the key protective factors, and we have to speak out with courageous conversations, and I want to share some optimistic outcomes so that you can feel encouraged during this talk. There was a movie called Show Dogs that was released sending a troubling message that groomed children for sexual abuse, and the National Center on Sexual Exploitation spoke out about it. And the film was edited and changed, so change can happen. We empower each other when we identify a problem. So identification leads to change. And I'm focusing here on the National Children's Alliance, another large organization that is setting up centers all around the country to help people with child abuse. People ask me as I speak with them, how do we change the culture? And I say to them, we are the culture. So what in the world can you do to prevent hypersexualized children's dance? Well, join the conversation. Educate yourself about healthy dance choices through free dance materials. Then take action and share the information. We all know children in our relational world that dance. And if you don't know children that take dance class in your relational world, all children are watching hypersexualized dance, and the research shows they're just as impacted when they watch it as when they do it. So let me introduce you to a few of our free materials. You can watch and share our trailers with other people, see them yourself. We've got 3 4-minute trailers on the website. One of the trailers last year was shared on an article I wrote on the internet, and we got 250,000 hits. So the word is getting out. Now we are releasing, actually this month, about 20 30-second videos with remarks from the experts you just heard on some of these video cuts. Very short, very quick, very poignant, and I think you can see that these experts have credibility. Then there's a free ebook on our website. It's only 15 pages, so you're not going to be reading it for hours and hours and weeks and months and months. It's divided into 4 sections. What's the scary new trend in children's dance? How to choose a healthy dance studio, how to avoid a harmful studio, and then a step-by-step guide to educate dance studios with research. Then we have a dance newsletter. We release that 3 times a year. We have articles written by dance educators. We have articles written by the National Center on Sexual Exploitation experts. We have articles written by myself and kind of up-to-date information about what's going on. Well, this is something easy you can do. You can sign the national petition online. We're affiliated with the National Center on Sexual Exploitation, and you can put your voice into a huge pool of other adults who are saying we need to stop the hypersexualization of children in dance. You can educate other people using our PowerPoints and in-depth videos. Everything's free. This PowerPoint is on the danceawareness.com website for you to download and give your own presentation. On the other hand, if you're someone that doesn't want to make a presentation, there's a PowerPoint in video form. It has different videos in it. I think you would find it extremely informative. And it's in the video form with music. It goes through slides. When we get to a video, of course, the music stops, but you can do that and then have a nice discussion with whoever is watching that PowerPoint video and decide amongst yourselves what you can do to prevent the hypersexualization of children in dance. Then I have taken one section of the ebook out and put it as one resource on the Dance Awareness website. It's the step-by-step guide to educate dance studios, because in it you can start a local dance petition, get some other people to sign it, and then bring information to a dance studio owner that's respectful, that's kind, to give them time to reflect. And I see change happening that way. I also have to inform you that it's not always dance people that are hypersexualizing. It's often parents pressuring dance educators to hypersexualize. So there's a lot of chaos and confusion in our culture. So I just want to make sure you understand there's a lot of dance educators that would agree with me. And last, but certainly not least, you can support our work with a financial gift. Everything we do is free, and that takes money. So you asked me again, what can I do to prevent hypersexualized dance right now? Well, you can't be a big organization. You can't be the National Center on Sexual Exploitation, but you can take action in your relational world. You have a family, you have friends, you have neighbors, you belong to a church, or maybe if you don't belong to a church, you belong to Kiwanis Club. We all have connections at schools and in our communities. So within that context, you can have courageous conversations. You can share the materials. Don't get overwhelmed with solving the problem yourself. I can't do it, and you can't do it, but you can do your part. And again, I'm going to emphasize, please communicate the information kindly and respectfully so that people don't get defensive. And now I'd like to reiterate the 4 dance educational objectives: to protect children from hypersexualization and adult costumes, choreography, and music, and to protect the art of dance; to create free research materials to give adults informed choices about the differences between healthy or harmful dance; to engage in respectful conversations about hypersexualization without shaming or demonizing adults or dance studios, so that there is a path for reflection and change perspectives; and to communicate the hypersexualization of children in dance and its connection to the public health issue of pornography with bipartisan engagement. Let's unite. You're now on the dance team, and let's ask the question of other people: when will what we know change what we do? I hope you join us. And as I end, I want to make sure you see that at the end of this PowerPoint, there are reference links. Those accompany all our materials. So it's not just your idea or your opinion when you share your concerns about hypersexualized dance, but there's evidence-based research behind what you say. Thank you for inviting me to share with you. And I don't know if there's any time for questions now or if we're out of time. So I'll turn this over to Jordan.
Hey, this is Andrea. Thank you so much, Mary. We had gotten just one question during the presentation, and that was asking whether this would be recorded and available for distribution. And so I wanted to ask you if you're okay with that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's fine with me. Even with some technical glitches, it's okay with me.
Great, great. I think people want to share it.
Great.
Great, great. Well, thank you so much. I love the resources. That'll be very helpful. If there are no other questions, we'll go ahead and conclude. And just a reminder, everybody will get a quick evaluation when you log off, so we can continue to improve our webinar series. And if you want to get in touch with Mary, I'm sure she would she'd be willing to have you reach out. Next month, our topic is the title is Trauma-Informed Recipe for Emergency and Long-Term Residential Services: the secret ingredient that you didn't know you already have. So hope to see y'all all next month, and have a great afternoon. Thanks, Mary.
Thanks for having me.